Hey everyone, how you doing today? It's me, David, coming to you from my whiskey den here in Central Ohio, US of A. Why do I say that? Well, I'm hoping we can get some viewership down under in Australia, and and that's not why I'm doing this. Some months ago, I did a video on the initial pour first tasting ever that I have done on this Upshot Australian whiskey from the Whippersnapper Distillery in Perth, Australia. Australia, mate. I'll try not to do too many stereotypical Aussie things. Like shrimp on the barbie, and that's not a knife, now this is a knife. I'll try not to do all that stuff. I just did. Anyway, all seriousness aside, my brother-in-law, my youngest brother-in-law, he lives in California. He goes on business trips around the world. He was in Australia. And I asked him if he could pick me up some whiskey from Australia. I'd like to check it out and try it. This is a bourbon style Australian whiskey. It's corn, wheat, and malted barley, Australian grains, grown, distilled, fermented, raised, barreled, everything in Australia. I really, really enjoy this whiskey. I'm going to call it a bourbon style whiskey because since it is produced outside the USA, it cannot legally be called bourbon, but it is a bourbon style whiskey. I wanted to see, because I follow them on Facebook, and I sent them a picture of this bottle up here with some of my iconic Kentucky bourbons. I want to see how this holds up to Kentucky bourbon. I live about 3 hours away from, does it take me 3 hours? It probably takes me about 3 hours to get to Kentucky. We'll call that good. Takes about 5 hours to get to Louisville or Lexington or Bardstown. So I have a pretty easy access to the Bourbon Trail in Kentucky, to a lot of excellent, definitive Kentucky bourbons. I want to pit Upshot, Australian bourbon style whiskey, up against three iconic Kentucky bourbons. So since this is a wheated bourbon, it's 86 proof. I don't have any wheated bourbons that are 86 proof. So the closest I have is Weller Special Reserve. This is out of Buffalo Trace. It is their wheated mash bill recipe. Do not know what the mash bill is on it, but it's a wheated mash bill. This is the same stuff that eventually becomes Pappy Van Winkle. And I'm hoping in Australia you've at least heard of these Kentucky bourbons. I'm sure you probably have. So Weller Special Reserve, 90 proof. Next we have Maker's Mark, which is also 90 proof. It's also a wheated bourbon. And for years it was my go-to. It is an iconic Kentucky wheated bourbon. Many people feel it's the definitive Kentucky wheated bourbon. Then we've got, and again, that's 90 proof. And then we've got Old Forester, which is 86 proof. It's not wheated. It's corn, malted barley, and rye, a standard traditional bourbon recipe. 86 proof. It is the first bottled bourbon, so it has that distinction. This is out of Luxrow, out of Louisville, Kentucky. And there we go. I think it's Luxrow, isn't it? Yeah, I think it is. It says Old Forester Distilling Company. Anyway, it does it really matter? All we're going to just see is how this holds up. I'm going to rate my preferences, and this is blind. I mixed all these up. I poured them, mixed them up, left the room, mixed them up again, left the room, mixed them up again. And so I honestly do not know what is in each of these glasses. I do have them numbered on the bottom. I've got my notes here. let's get to it. And I will tell you what my favorites are. I'll try to give you a few notes that I pick up, but I just want to see if it's comparable. So here we go. Glass number one has a nice sweet but somewhat spicy smell to it. I'm not going to try to guess what each one is. Smells elegant and nice. A little, it's sweet, hardly any burn, a little malt forward, a pretty nice whiskey. The malt forwardness, which is slight, kind of gives it a little like Scotch overtone or malted whiskey overtone, but it's definitely bourbon. Really nice, tasty. So that one, because I marked it, I tried it first. That's number one on the list. Let's see if any of these others will unseat that. Really good, really nice whiskey there. The second one. Very pronounced spice, really nice. It is definitely a bourbon. I might even venture a guess that it's Weller, but kind of like the first one a little better. So I'll mark that a 2. Let's see what we got here. Again, another one that's got a little malt on the nose. So far, the first two are definitely bourbon. That's also really nice. Still like that first one better. So far, I guess that's going to be number 3. But it's got, I have a feeling it is a wheated bourbon. It's got that kind of breadiness to it, to the taste, which is really nice. And the last one, another one that's kind of malty forward. So I'm going to mark this one 3, this one 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 in that order. So my bottom line is that I enjoyed all 4 of these selections. They're all good, all really nice. They're all bourbon. They have a lot of similar qualities as far as 3 of them had that a little bit of a malt grain forward flavor to it. This one, I think it was this one, was not so much. So this could be the Old Forester. The other 3 could be the wheated bourbons. But let's find out. Again, this isn't a preference of what's the best, what's the worst. All 4 of these are outstanding. And I will, at this point, say the Upshot, to me, is indistinguishable as far as bourbon qualities than these Kentucky bourbons right here. So let's go with our number 1 pick. Yeah, I'll keep that number 1. That's the Upshot. Was number 1. Okay. Just So this is the second time I'm doing this video. I did it yesterday. I'm like, I want to do it a second time to make sure. So yesterday's video, Upshot came in number 1. Really enjoyed it. I am not affiliated with the Whippersnapper Distillery. I've never been to Australia. I'm hardly outside the country. Last time I was outside the country was 20 something years ago, and that was Canada. So Upshot, number 1 choice. So there you go. Whippersnapper Distillery. If you want to post this on your Facebook page, feel free to. All right, so number 2 was this one, and that was the Maker's Mark. Was number 2. Again, iconic, probably apart from, you're getting into your Pappy Van Winkles and stuff like that. I would say your iconic everyday wheated bourbon. There's some awesome wheated bourbons out there, but to many people, that's probably the standard right there. All right, so this one was the Weller, came in at number 4. Weller. I enjoy the Weller Special Reserve. It is a dang fine, affordable bourbon. It's $23 here in Ohio. If you live in a state here in the United States where it's state regulated, $23 is the MSRP. You go to other states, it's $100, $200, maybe $300. And the interesting thing is, if I just have a pour of this, it tastes kind of thin and, not the greatest. I mean, it tastes great to me, but it usually tends to be a bit thin and a little watery, but I still love this. It's an excellent value bourbon in the Weller line. So that means Old Forester came in at number 3. Now, I am going to go to the results from yesterday. I have not looked at these results since yesterday. Let's see what I got. So today, Weller was number 4. Yesterday, there we go. Yesterday, Weller was number 4. Go figure. Weller, again, a really good bourbon. People, especially when you get up to the Antique 107 and the expressions that are above the Special Reserve, people feel it's like the gold standard. It's really elevated, and it is a good bourbon. In this lineup, it came in 4th out of 4. If I had a few other if I did 10 wheated bourbons, it might still come in 4 or 5. To me, it would just rank up there. So Weller came in at number 4. Now I lost my spot. Oh, there we go. All right, so, and then today Upshot came in at 1. Today Upshot was at 1. Upshot was at 1 yesterday. Today, the Maker's Mark was in the number 2 spot. Yesterday, Maker's was number 3, and then Old Forester was number 3 today, and number 2 yesterday. So, the consistency is that I preferred the Upshot between the 4. Amongst the 4, which is odd. You think, we get to be a bit snobby here in the States. It's even, there are people who feel you can't get good bourbon outside Kentucky. Well, I'll tell you this, you can get really trashy bourbon that's made in Kentucky, and you can get outstanding bourbon that's made in Idaho. Go figure. You can get excellent bourbon that's made in Kentucky, but you're going to pay a lot for it. And you can get trashy bourbon out of New Jersey. So just because something's made in a certain area doesn't qualify or disqualify it from being an excellent tasting whiskey. And I will say this, if you are in Australia, if you're a native to Australia, please patronize the Whippersnapper Distillery. Get the Upshot. If you see that, I don't know how much this costs because it was gifted to me. Let's say this is 100 Australian dollars, and you see this for 500 Australian dollars. Go with the Upshot. You're not really, if you want to get the Weller, feel free. But this is an outstanding bourbon style whiskey made in Australia. I do have a standing order with my brother-in-law. If whenever he goes back to Australia, Johnny, please get me some more of this Upshot. It's really good stuff, and it is made the way bourbon should be made. The only difference is it's not made in the United States, so it can't be called bourbon. Nice things about this. So let me just read off the back. It's crafted from 100% local West Australian grains. It's artfully aged in virgin southern white oak in our urban Mediterranean climate. This was out of, and I think this is a single, it's a single barrel bourbon whiskey style. Really, really good stuff. Whippersnapper, if you can get this imported to the States, I would be one happy camper. But until the meantime, my brother-in-law, this is special occasion stuff in my opinion. So there you go. Upshot from Whippersnapper up against 3 iconic Kentucky bourbons. Upshot, that little Whippersnapper, really upended, in my opinion, the other 3. So there you go. Until next time, it's me, David, coming to you from my whiskey den here in Central Ohio. I hope your next pour is your best pour. We'll catch you soon. Thank you for letting me indulge, and we'll see you later. I think I said everything I had to say, so anyway, we'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Hey everyone, if you like what you see, please like and subscribe so you can be notified of future videos as they drop. Thanks for watching.